Well, welcome to the Puzzle Factory. New mission, new venture. What's up? What's going on?
Well, it's a new year.
Yep.
We need to update the way we communicate to the members in the wider industry, I think, and get ourselves out the dark ages with our,
Yeah, I know. With our
media.
comms and our shit. Yeah. No, I mean, how many of our guys and members have come back to us and say about the amount of podcasts and stuff they listen to in their vans,
Yep.
out on the job site. So we thought, well, let's get in their ear a little bit and start sharing some knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they certainly kept me sane when I was on the tools. On 6 hours a day of podcasts.
We might not quite be Joe Rogan yet, but I reckon we've got some shit to say, and I think we've got some really good insights and help to pass on for some of these business owners that are trying to sort of kick things up a gear for the new year.
Yeah, 100%. And the Puzzle Factory, you may
Puzzle
ask.
Factory, yeah.
What's that all about?
Well, funny you say that. We are a business full of pieces, puzzle pieces pieces. But no, like anything in business is a collaboration of lots of different things, and a lot of the stuff that we do as a trade group, you would hope is to provide those missing pieces and things like that. So the whole idea is that we put those together to make a successful and happy mission. So.
Yeah, no, it sounds bloody good to me, because I wasn't sure whether it was like you listen to this and you'll be in pieces afterwards.
I think it's probably going to lend itself to that.
Yeah.
But no, it's just a metaphor for business, and we're the same thing with all of our different members and our staff and everyone else that, put them all together and hopefully it paints a nice, beautiful, pretty
find
picture.
the missing pieces. That's what it's all about,
Absolutely.
mate.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, going forward, we're going to be talking about obviously specific things that are happening in the industry. We'll be having a bit of a giggle. We'll be having some great and interesting and probably some entertaining guests on.
Yeah, for sure. And we want to highlight some of our members as well.
Yep.
So, if we get some of the Sparkies on, we get some of the partners, some of the suppliers, any of the sort of topical shit that's happening out there in the market. We know last year was a bit of a, it was full on for a lot of people, a few builders tipping over and a lot of market challenges, So hopefully this is a really positive year of hooking another gear and seeing where we go.
To sum it up, it was shit.
Shit house.
Yeah, shit house.
Yes. So we want to make sure that we protect our team and provide them lots of info.
Yeah, bloody right on. So, well, I think without further ado, should we crack straight into it? We've got Leigh from Tradie HR today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's get her on.
Come in.
Wasn't that very ladylike?
That was fantastic. I'd give it. All right. Well, hi, Leigh. Welcome
Alex.
to the Puzzle Factory.
Thank you.
New year, new podcast, and you're our very first guest.
I feel super privileged.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. We've got no listeners yet, and hopefully we can change that, eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's rock and roll.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just to start off with, would you like to tell us a bit about Tradie HR and obviously a bit about your background as well?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, firstly, delighted to be here. So I set Tradie HR up 2018.
Yep.
I'd reached an age and stage, a couple of reasons why. I'd reached an age and stage where I realised I didn't really like being told what to do by people who didn't know what to do.
Yep.
And felt that it was an opportune time to get out on my own.
Yep.
And so why tradies? So I have a cousin who's a builder. I've also got a cousin who's a mechanic, and they would come to me with, asking advice about their staff, and then their plumber mate would ask, and their drain layer mate would ask, and I thought, there's maybe a market here.
Yeah.
Who helps the small to medium-sized trades businesses with, getting their people stuff right?
Yeah.
Because they don't need a full-time HR resource.
No.
Just somebody that they can call as and when.
Yeah.
And so I made the move and haven't looked back. Absolutely love what I do.
Yeah, fantastic. Because, I mean, it is a huge point of difference that you've got, as we always say, the pay-as-you-go model for HR. It's a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I looked at and I thought, well, what would I like from a professional and someone? I wanted to know that I could ring up somebody that I could trust, that wasn't going to be judgy, and that was going to be able to offer me practical, good common sense solutions.
Yeah.
And I hope that I can provide that.
Well, you certainly have to me in the past.
Oh, yeah.
As we were talking about, I was the crash test dummy apparently for you.
Yes, you were. You were as part of Tate's due diligence as to who he was going to get to be the preferred supplier of HR solutions. I didn't know that, but clearly it worked.
Yeah, you passed with flying colours for us. You were always a fantastic help.
yeah.
You know, your charges are very reasonable, and you can tell that you care. That's the big difference.
And that's it. It absolutely. So my vision is, I guess it's my why,
Yeah.
is that I want everybody in New Zealand to go to work, to look forward to going to work each day, and they come home in a better state than when they arrived.
Yeah, happy workers are good workers. You should come home feeling recharged, right?
Yeah. And that's my tagline, getting people stuff right.
Yep.
And as we know, you outsource the stuff that you're not good at, that you don't enjoy.
Yeah.
So it can free you up to give you more time to do what you are good at.
Yeah, totally agree.
Absolutely.
So, bloody good. So moving forward from that, what were some of the things that you saw last year? We know we had a really tough year in the market. Everybody, well, a lot of people struggled quite a bit. So what were you seeing from your perspective?
Yeah, really interesting. January 2024, I've never encountered a January or February like it. So it was like everybody had gone away on holiday, done some real soul searching and thinking, came back. My phone was off the hook with trade members wanting to right size their business.
Yeah.
And they said to me, look, I'm not going to limp along like I did last year. I don't have it in me. I think I need to make some changes.
Yeah.
And so that was it. It was restructure for the majority, probably definitely the first quarter and into the next. And then other trades sort of took over in the latter part of 2024. Not so much electrical.
Yeah, you were saying this, yeah. So obviously, you know, looking at it on face value, restructure means downsizing, generally speaking, in a market like today. Not the first thing business owners want to be doing. So how do you approach that and you make it more of a pleasant sort of process to go through?
Yeah, look, Alex, it's a serious business activity and it's a sensitive one. Yeah. So you have legal obligations, but you also have the obligations of doing right by your people. Mm-hmm. And it needs to be a thoughtful and considered approach. So the first questions I ask when a client will ring up and go, I need to restructure, I just go, what's your commercial reason for it? Mm-hmm. And there's plenty, right? There were a lot last year. Yeah. You know, there was not enough work in the pipeline. Big projects had been stopped. Key clients had moved away or what have you. So there was a lot. And those are sound commercial reasons. And so we established that first. So we have to make sure that you've got sound business rationale for it. Yeah. And you have to be prepared to show your books. If that's the path you're going down, whether it's financial reasons, then you be prepared to open your books. You have to be transparent through the process. Yeah. Now, I did have some ring up and say, hey, look, Billy's not working out. He's not a fit, you know, and I just can't be bothered anymore. And I would have to say, okay. Now, look, a restructure is not for performance issues or because you don't like them. Those are separate processes. Yeah. And then I would also have people ring up and, you know, they've got some questions. They'd say, hey, look, I've got 5 guys. I'd like to go down to 2. Yeah. I know what 2 I want, but we'll just make the other 3 go.
Yeah, make them disappear.
Get them out of it. Yeah, and I think the restructure, you know, times are tough and blah, blah. And I said, yes, we can do a restructure because you do have some sound business rationale, but it's a contestable process. Yeah. And I had one client, Alex, who said, yeah, but I know who I want. And I said, yes, I know who you want. But under New Zealand employment law, you have to be fair and reasonable. Under Section 103A of the Employment Relations Act, it says, what would a fair and reasonable employer do? Yeah. And so we were having this conversation. I was trying to explain the risks of PGs, unjustified dismissal, disadvantage. And the problem was, in fact, me and how I was communicating that. So I paused and I thought, okay, I need to reframe this. So I said to him, look, let's just think about it this way. If one of your family members was one of the 3 going to go through your process, how would you feel? Yeah.
So you're flipping the roles.
And he went, you're right. And I said, and it is, but being fair, you may very well get the 2 you want, but we have to follow a process.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I mean, you're the HR expert, not me, but I'd say the other side of it, if you're wanting to get rid of guys because, you know, whatever reasons, but they're not performing as to what you expected when you employed them, you got to go down the disciplinary route, I would imagine.
You've got to start with a process. Yeah. And that is sort of leads in quite nicely to one of the key things that I really would recommend that business owners across all trades embark on this year is getting onto your people stuff early.
Yep.
As soon as you notice that there's a pattern forming with him coming in late, because it really moves really quickly. So, it might be coming in late, a little bit late, 5 minutes here, then it's 10 minutes, then it's quarter of an hour, then it'll start going into days. As soon as you start seeing patterns or anything, you've got to get onto it quickly.
Yeah.
And that's just an informal conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But you're setting the scene. And then should it not, he listen, then you progress to a more formal process.
Yeah,
but get onto it quickly.
Yeah, so you've got the wheels turning, because we all know, particularly if you've got new staff, you get through the honeymoon period, 3 to 6 months, and if they're that way inclined, they'll start dropping off, and then you give them a bit of a rev up, and they come back up and then drop off again. It's not likely to change if they're that way inclined, so it's always good to have started that process, so you're not then in for another 6-month process, from when you start, sort of thing.
And that's one of the key things that I see.
Yeah.
And I have that saying, if you're silent, you're compliant.
Yeah.
So I do get calls, that Joe, for example, I've had enough. He's got to go. And what are the issues? And I find out that, Joe's been doing this for 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can still start a process, but it'll be a line in the sand.
Yeah. So why didn't you make the call 6 months ago, essentially?
Yeah.
And
we are very conflict diverse.
Yeah.
But I'd like to flip the script on that. And as I say to my clients, having these conversations, you're doing them a disservice if you don't.
Yeah.
If someone's behaving in a way and you can see that the rest of the guys are rolling their eyes or what have you, or they're, saying he's lazy, you've got your duty bound to let them know.
Well,
so they can change.
Even if you take the legal side out and the process side out of it, just clear communication, it's got to happen, because otherwise, keep your mouth shut. Resentment forms within your business, whether it's from the employer to the employee or vice versa, and then you end up in a pickle. And that's when things tend to turn nasty.
Yeah, and your credibility as a manager depends on you taking action.
Yeah.
And we've got lots of ways on how you can take action.
Yeah.
And that's why it's really good. I really encourage your members just to call me. They get 15 minutes free advice, and just to call me to check in.
Yeah.
Is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think years ago, I think I called you just on some advice on how to tackle that disciplinary or performance-based process. And, I guess when I was younger, I'd be more inclined to be like, as a tradie does, like, sort your shit out, da-da-da-da-da.
Behind the bike shed, let's have a chat.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And then after speaking to you, I just started dealing with things exactly by the book. It took all the emotion out of it, and it actually worked in quite a few cases where, one, we got the result that we wanted, or two, they actually bucked up their ideas because they realised they were going to get reprimanded in the correct fashion for what was going on.
And I see those good stories.
Yeah.
There are those good stories where we've had to call an apprentice in because they've been maybe they're texting too much in the van, the workmanship's dropped off, or they're not following instructions, they're not writing notes, or they're coming in a bit late. And we have a conversation with them. And, I'm really pleased to say that majority of them do actually, it's a little bit of a shock for them.
Yeah.
And I zoom into those meetings. And it's like, the HR ladies coming in, and it just adds a level of it. It's, because this is your business.
Well, it makes it serious, doesn't it? Like, we're not just messing around anymore, it's serious, so they're going to take it on board.
And it makes it professional.
Yeah.
So if we're going back to the change management, the right sizing, the redundancies, the restructuring, having a thoughtful and considered approach with your documents, being really clear about what it is that you're wanting to do, what path you're going to take if it is for financial reasons. And then it's all proposed.
Mm-hmm.
And under New Zealand employment law, nothing is determined until you've given your employees time to come back with any feedback and you've considered that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've had several examples, Alex, where we've had employees come in with their representative or their support person, and they've come in and the support people are not happy, right? You can tell by the body language. I had one just the other day. He brought his partner in. She came in and she was ramped up.
Bull in the china shop.
She was amped up, and rightly so. She's worried about her partner and what have you.
Yeah.
And sat down and I said to her, is there anything that you'd like to add before we start with the meeting? And she went, I'll be asking some questions, absolutely. By the end of it though, because we want to front foot a lot of stuff, so we have a Q&A sheet and we go through it all. by the end of it, she said, "Yeah, look, thank you. You've answered all my questions, and I can see that they've taken the time and the care to do this properly."
Yeah, okay. And it just completely diffuses the situation,
When people see that you are running a robust and a fair and a professional approach to it,
Yeah.
honestly, there aren't any, and well, I haven't had any PGs resulting from it. Touch wood.
I mean, it's really handy having, a professional who's impartial such as yourself anyway, because, it's like small companies. The relationships you have with these guys, they're either your best mates or they become part of the family. The young guys, you take them under your wing, young guys or girls, and so it's really hard to have those conversations.
Oh, it is absolutely. I've had quite a few clients ring me up late at night, and I've had to sort of talk them down off the ledge, and because it's people's livelihoods,
Yeah.
and they're connected in some way, especially in those small regional towns.
Yeah.
The wives might know each other, the kids go to school, they play sport together, and that's where I guess it does help, and I can be not the bad cop, but I can help be that voice of reason.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really good to show the vulnerability.
Yeah.
That has diffused a lot of situations too. And by that I mean, for example, we had a husband and wife team, and this was their last resort. They had done everything to avoid having to have these conversations, and you could just see it. And I was on the Zoom attending, and they couldn't actually speak. They were so overcome.
Yeah.
Which the support people in that were comforting them at the end. So it is.
Well, nobody wants to have those conversations.
No.
But I think the big trade-off that a lot of businesses see you do feel responsible for your employees and their income and their livelihood. But if it's at the detriment of your business as a whole and it's going to put everybody else out of work, you've got to look at the bigger picture and make that nasty decision sometimes, or difficult decision.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, there's some key points from last year.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing on the horizon for this year?
What I'd really encourage, I guess, some really cool things to focus on. 3 things that I'd like to mention from an HR people perspective.
Yep.
The first one is look at trust. Does there need to be some rebuilding of trust with your teams?
Mm-hmm.
They've probably lost some people that they worked with along the way. Might be some casualties. There might be still a little bit of survivor guilt, which people can have because their mates have gone, but they're still there.
Yeah.
And so a good opportunity, good time, start of the year, new team rules, perhaps some really good team building to rebuild that trust.
Yeah.
So that's really
have
cool.
a freshen up.
Yeah.
And set the stall out for the new year.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm doing a lot of those, creating our team rules, demonstrating our team rules, and getting the team to create those moving forward. What does that look like to work at this business, and how do we do it?
Yeah, and setting new routines as well, because this isn't particularly HR based, but just in my view, like regular staff meetings, I always found they reinvigorated you. They got you amped up. You're part of something, and then you go out there and get it. And obviously, you've got them clear lines of communication every week or every month again. Whereas when you start getting really busy, you go, "Oh, no staff meeting this month," and then you might not see some of the guys for 2-3 months if they're working down the line.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important.
And in those staff meetings, making sure that everyone has a say, because it might just be 1 or 2 that speak up.
Yeah.
So regular one-on-ones is really good as well.
Yeah.
So checking in and finding out how they're going.
Yeah.
What are some of the growth and development opportunities that you can offer them?
Yeah. And it's always a great opportunity anyway, because everybody's in the office, so you can have your meeting, and then if whoever wants to have a wee chat can come and grab you on their own afterwards and whatnot.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. Good. So definitely, I think, look at some really cool fun activities, and we can help with those.
Yeah.
And the second thing, and I've said it again, but it really has to be, make sure you've got the right documentation in place to start the year.
Yeah.
So make sure your employment agreements are current, they're relevant, and they are fit for purpose.
Yeah.
Make sure that you do have a job description, because if we want to do performance management or some sort of disciplinary or what have you, if there isn't anything clear in there, it's going to make it really hard.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how many people tell me that they don't actually know what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. And that's when they should ring you for the free 15-minute consultation, isn't it?
Absolutely, and we can help guide them in the right way. So definitely making sure you've got that employment agreement. That's a legal requirement.
Yeah.
but that it's relevant. I've seen some that have been cut and paste and downloaded and what have you, and they're not going to protect anybody.
Yeah, okay.
And the other thing I have to say is, I'm not going to tell you off if you ring me and you tell me, hey, I haven't got a job description or a contract.
Yeah.
Just here to help you get it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So making sure you've got that, job descriptions, and a couple of key HR policies. Don't need a whole heap. Don't let anybody tell you you need a whole heap. You do need a couple of key ones.
Yeah. As we were speaking about, and obviously you'll help point this out if people do get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the final thing, as we mentioned before, get onto things early. Don't be afraid to pick up. We're here to help support you, not going to tell you off, just help guide.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
Just to know that you've got somebody who's got 30 plus, we'll just cap it there, years.
Yeah.
I've done just about everything there is, with regards to HR. I've seen all the wonderful behaviours.
Yeah.
That having a career in HR.
Oh yeah, I bet you've got some stories in the bank.
Some great work stories, Alex. Some great work stories.
We're back.
2026.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a quick year.
That year flew. Yeah. Any tips from 2025?
Yes, the importance of documentation and team building.
I actually don't work here anymore. I got fired due to an HR issue.
Of which I'm not at liberty to discuss.
Yeah. I don't hold it against you.
Totally good.
No, so we were just sort of wrapping up before we had that wee hiccup there.
And I think with 2025, if I really can encourage all business owners, check in with your staff.
Yeah.
Really make that a focus of less is me and more of we.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important.
Yeah.
And we're here to help support. Don't be afraid to ring up and get some tips and tricks and advice.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And make it a great year. But check in with your staff regularly.
Yeah.
Throughout the year.
Yeah, that's and just I think forming them habits, because it's if you've set the habit or some kind of schedule that you're onto for the new year, if you set it, it's easier to keep to it when you get busy and things start falling off.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, shall we wrap it up there?
Yeah, thank you, Alex, for inviting me.
Thank you very much for coming on. We know you're a very busy person, so thanks for making the time. And
Absolutely.
We'll do this again, eh?
Yep. And hope everybody gets their people stuff right.
Yeah. Let's hope so. Well, we need to give you a call.
Chat with Leigh. How did it get on?
Yeah, bloody awesome, mate. Look, she's a professional. She knows exactly what she's bloody talking about.
Yeah.
And she's always a good yarn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So on that note, if you do want to get in touch with Leigh, all the details are in the show description. So don't hesitate. She'll help you out and you'll be glad that you did.
Yeah, one of the best resources we've had, one of the best decisions we've made as a trade group is to get her involved.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate. She'll be ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, she's bloody awesome. So
yeah,
we had a bit of a hiccup. The camera turned off around 20 minutes while we were in full flow. So I had to do a bit of a reset there. We actually skipped a year. We ended up in 2026. Not sure.
Yep.
Not sure how that happened, but
transporting. We're already thinking in front. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right, mate.
But no, well done. And yeah, she's going to be more of the same. I think we try and get some of these industry experts on, and get in touch.
Yeah, and so some of these topics are pretty vast. You're not going to cover it in a 20-minute yarn.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, for sure. But the relevance there is that absolutely solutions for small 1-man, 2-man, 3-man businesses, right up to large-scale organisations. Because if you're not protecting yourself and looking after for risk for your employees and yourself as a business owner, you need to be aware of all of those things.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to read what she's writing on the board, mate. So yeah. Well, the executive producer has caused me a right bloody mischief there.
Yes.
But, we'll carry on.
Yeah. We want to try and make that a little more seamless.
What's she writing? Because I'm going blind as well, so I'm like...
She'll have you on auto cue before you know it.
Yeah, I know. I'll read whatever's on that prompter. I can tell you now. So yeah,
Max
be
Max
careful.
Effort. Yeah.
But yeah, I think all that remains to be said is thanks for tuning in to the first episode.
Yeah, well done.
If anybody did. And
Glad I left you to it. It was
yeah.
bloody good.
Yeah. You got off bloody easy this week, you bugger.
Yeah. I'll bore someone else another time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
No, I think that's the best way. And the great thing from our side is you and your role as well, being a Sparky and a business owner. A lot of these applications of what they're talking about are real scenarios for what you've had to do to set up a business and also look after staff. So all those resources massively relevant.
Yeah, so I certainly feel the pain.
Yeah.
From, so yeah. So on that note, all that remains to be said is keep puzzling, and we'll see you next week for another go.
See you on the next one.
Alex Tate.